Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the DUI Guy Live. I'm sorry about the delay. I literally just finished my run and I didn't realize what time it was, and I needed to hop in for a quick shower. That's why I'm so red right now. I haven't run in a very long time. I checked my list, and because I keep track of all my runs, and I realized I haven't run since like mid-October, and that made me feel really, really sad because I keep telling myself like, okay, I'm gonna go for a run, and then I get distracted. And when I don't know what I am. I was never like, I don't believe in psychologists to get diagnoses of anything because they're all quacks and liars. No offense, for the most part, when it comes to diagnosing, because at the end of the day, all they care about is their pocketbook. They don't care about kids. They don't care about your mental health. They care about making some money, and they don't make any money if you're just sent on your way in 5 minutes. So they wanna put you on that prescription. They want to make sure that you are a repeat customer. That's why I don't. But anyway, I'm like always all over the place. Thank you, Tammy, for becoming a new member. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel. You know the drill. How's everybody doing on this wonderful, wonderful Sunday night? I need to take care of some housekeeping business. Where are my moderators? Moderators, wake up. We got some fuckery going on in the chat. We do not allow fuckery in the chat, so behave yourselves. But I love every single one of you, the ones that are good. Anyway, so it is great to see you all. Here we are at the end of an era. My God, I wanted to talk about it yesterday, but we had already scheduled a live stream with Amy Goodhart. If you haven't seen it, by all means, go check it out. It's on my channel from yesterday. Amy was on. We talked about feminism. If you don't know who Amy Goodhart is, first of all, she has an awesome channel. Go check it out. Subscribe to it. She used to live in the Eastern Columbia building at the time when Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were living there. And she still lives there. She still lives there. And I was there. I got a chance to meet her. I got a chance to meet her when I was in LA for the Danny Masterson and Harvey Weinstein trials, both of which are resuming tomorrow, by the way. The deliberations for Danny Masterson are going to resume tomorrow at somewhere between 8:30, 8:45 in Los Angeles. And in the same place, the defense begins their case in the Harvey Weinstein trial, literally right across the hall. So unfortunately, I am not there, but I will be watching from afar. So I have work to do here. Who's on my water bottle? So have you all ever heard of this place called Miguel's Pizza at the Red River Gorge? There's probably going to be one person, maybe two in the chat. Unless you're from Kentucky, then you probably know about it. But Miguel's Pizza, I used to rock climb a lot. Like there in 2012, I can tell you I spent pretty much the entire summer at the Red River Gorge. I calculated, I remember back then, out of 13 summers, I spent 13 summers. Out of 13 weekends during that summer, I spent 12 weekends at the Red River Gorge. And they're pretty big now. I mean, they were very, very small potatoes back then, but yeah, I mean, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. They have rice bowls, they have pizza. If you're ever in Kentucky and I mean, it's a haul. It's a haul. I mean, it's like an hour and 45 minutes from where I am. But if you're a rock climber, you don't care. You're going to go because the rock over there at the Red River Gorge is just mwah, chef's kiss. It's absolutely incredible. But yeah, so we're going to be keeping tabs on the jury verdict on Masterson. My money is still on guilty on at least one. Remember, I said I believe that the jury's kind of split. I don't think they're split guilty, not guilty. I think more than likely the majority is split on guilty, but on which one? 1, 2, or 3, or a combination, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 1 and 3. There's just so many different combinations that they can be going off on. And the Harvey Weinstein, oh, he's going to be found guilty 100%. The only question is, how bad is it going to be? And I don't think it's not going to be that bad. I mean, he's going to get a few years. He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. They're not going to max him out. That jury is like over this case. The amount of eye rolling and amount of like, we're done with this, we just want to go deliberate is like they're already like, we've had it up to here. So hello to everybody just joining us in the chat. Let's talk about Stanford University and Michele Dauber. Michele Dauber is still, as we speak, on Sunday night, November 27th, 2022, is still a professor, as far as I know, tenured professor, which means she cannot be fired unless there is extremely good cause, is still a tenured professor at Stanford University. Now, there was a lawsuit filed on Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving. The news broke on Thanksgiving. This is the headline. This is, no, not this one. This is the headline. Family of soccer star Katie Meyer files wrongful death lawsuit against Stanford University after she died by unliving herself. The news broke on Thanksgiving Day. Now, remember, it was filed like late Wednesday. So the next business day for us to obtain records is Monday. So I imagine we are going to be able to get our hands on the complaint hopefully tomorrow. I have a few resources. I've been trying to track it down myself. I don't think they have access on the internet, at least to that. You'll be able to tell if the case has been filed, but you can't obtain a complaint. So I'm trying to get my hands on it. And Beautifully Damaged says, yes, we need your guidance on this. Well, I'm going to try. I'm going to try and provide as much as I can. Okay. I'm going to be informative and tell you guys what is going on so far, because this is fresh. This is extremely fresh. This literally just happened. And we're going to find out more details tomorrow when courts reopen. This was Katie. She used to play soccer. The headline for the photo says, Stanford goalkeeper Katie Meyer acknowledges the crowd after the team's win over UCLA in a semifinal of the NCAA Division I women's soccer tournament in San Jose, California. That's where Stanford is located, for those of you who didn't know. It's in Stanford, California, but it's like next door to San Jose, up north there by San Francisco as well. On December 6, 2019, she was number 19, just so happened. There's this beautiful editor's note here, by the way, that I can't just roll past. If you or a loved one have contemplated unliving yourself, call 988 to reach the National Unliving Yourself Prevention Lifeline. It provides free and confidential support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for people in unliving themselves crisis or distress. For crisis support in Spanish, there's a different number. And the International Association for Unliving Prevention and Befrienders Worldwide also provide contact information for crisis centers around the world. So if you are, God forbid, in a situation where you just don't think that you should be on this planet anymore, you don't believe anybody cares about you, first of all, know that there are a lot of people who care about you and who love you and who want you to stay with us. And secondly, those are the resources. Okay. The family of Katie Meyer, who is now deceased, a star soccer player who died by unliving herself last spring. This happened in April, I believe. has filed, so her estate, her family, her estate filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Stanford University and several administrators. Now, this language right there, this is what leads me to believe that more than likely, these are the following people that are named in the lawsuit. The dean, naturally, the administrator of students, more than likely, I forget his name. He may be mentioned either in this article or the next article we're going to look at. He was the one in charge of the sexual assault reporting center, essentially, basically that arm that was developed by Michele Dauber to address these kinds of issues. That's number 3. And Michele Dauber herself, because she was the last point of contact between Katie and herself before Katie unlived herself. I mean, Michele Dauber's email was the last thing she saw before she took her own life. Okay? Something like that, Barambas Collins. Assistant Dean of Faculty Affairs, something of that nature. More like probably student affairs, not faculty. Assistant Dean of Student Affairs, I would imagine, because they have a much more direct involvement. Faculty affairs, I don't think, is directly involved. Viking Wolf by Blood says, I have a forensic psych degree, but I do not use it. I am a measly SSA legal assistant and prior insurance agent and claims adjuster. I would rather use my degree for good and not for money. Well, good for you. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Viking. So it's not just Stanford University that is named. That's why I so confidently tweeted that Michele Dauber is probably named. And there's like a 95% chance that she is named. And even if she's not, she's still directly involved. So the statement still rings true. It would be very difficult for Michele Dauber to dodge this one. So several administrators, along with Stanford University, the lawsuit alleges that the actions of Stanford University and the several administrators surrounding a potential disciplinary action caused Katie to suffer an acute stress reaction that impulsively led to her unliving herself. Now let's just talk about that for just a moment. These cases are extremely difficult to prove. Despite the fact that the standard of review for the courts, and if it goes to a jury, is preponderance of the evidence, which is the lowest standard in the land. Wrongful death, I imagine there might be a negligent infliction of emotional distress in there somewhere. One of the main elements that is always the most difficult to prove for the plaintiff, in this case, Katie's estate, her family, and so on, is causation, okay? So you have two things that are happening. You have, on the one hand, you have Stanford University instituting disciplinary actions. No question, that happened. On the other hand, you have Katie taking her own life. No question, that happened. But now you're taking these two things and you're saying that they are causally linked, that they are connected, and your standard is by a preponderance of the evidence. That is very difficult to prove because you have to show that but for, this is the standard, but for Stanford University taking action, sending that letter and taking disciplinary action, but for that happening, Katie would have been alive today. Now think about that for a moment. That is not easy to prove, even by preponderance of the evidence standard. However, when you take, and we're going to get to those in a moment, when you take all the other surrounding factors into account, because it's all about essentially circumstantial evidence for the most part, really. You're taking things that are surrounding the case, that are around the circumstances of what happened, and you're trying to bolster your argument that way, first of all, you got to get past summary judgment. Don't forget, summary judgment is the standard by which the courts use whether or not to dismiss an action because it doesn't have a cause of action grounds to stand on. Essentially, that's what it is. And defense attorneys use summary judgments all the time. Plaintiffs use them as well, a little bit, the ones who are suing, but it's a lot more difficult for a plaintiff to get a summary judgment. I mean, you're basically saying negligence is so clear that we don't even need a jury to assess this. It's so obvious. This is not the case here. For a defense attorney to file a motion for summary judgment on a case like this, 100%, that's going to be literally technically step number 2 after you file your answer. Fair enough. But after the answer to the complaint, which they have 20 days, the clock starts ticking minus holidays and weekends. So I imagine they still have 19 days starting tomorrow, since this was filed on Wednesday. And Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are all national holidays for purposes of the court. Once the answer is filed, literally the next thing they're going to begin drafting, if they're not going to start drafting it right away, is going to be the motion for summary judgment. Failure to state a cause upon which relief may be granted. That's literally the standard for summary judgment. Every state has it. Every court honors it. If the defense can show that relief cannot be claimed, that there is no cause of action. So that she suffered an acute stress reaction that impulsively led to her unliving herself is not an easy thing to prove. Mayer, a senior who helped secure the 2019 NCAA championship for Stanford, was found dead in her dorm room in March. I said April, I apologize. March. Shortly before her death, Meyer was facing repercussions after defending a teammate on campus, her parents said in the days following her unliving herself. Thank you for the gifted memberships, by the way. I apologize. I can't see them on the screen since I am in Streamlabs or StreamYard. In order for me to see those, I have to open the YouTube link. 12b-6 is exactly right. That's the federal rule, and most state rules literally copy and paste that. 12b-6 is the motion for summary judgment standard. There's also 12b-1, 12b-2, 12b-3. They're all motions to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction, lack of personal jurisdiction, lack of standing. There's all sorts of interesting different things. Sorry, I just tapped my mic and it has a mute button in like the worst place ever. The standard for dismissing a case by the court. So that way it doesn't even get to a jury if it gets dismissed, but a judge must grant it. Federal courts use the 12b-6, and almost all states have the exact same. Usually it's also a 12b-6 in the states. So Free Flyer 1978 says he just used it himself and won. Congratulations. That's hardcore. That's badass. Means somebody sued him and he filed a 12b-6 motion for summary judgment and he won the case. It's an automatic victory. The case is literally fizzles as soon as the judge grants, if they grant, the summary judgment motion. The actions that led to the death of Katie Meyer began and ended with Stanford University, the lawsuit alleges, and makes public for the first time details of the allegations that sparked the potential disciplinary action. And this is all going to be found in the complaint, which, like I said, hopefully I'll get my hands on very, very shortly. In August of 2021, Meyer was riding a bicycle when she allegedly spilled coffee. And I know people have already been asking, how hot was the coffee? Was it, cold coffee? Was it iced coffee? Did it singe the player? Did it cause injuries? So many questions come to mind. So many questions. And unfortunately, we don't have any answers so far. Now, those answers may come later, but we're going to find out. Who allegedly sexually assaulted one of her minor teammates, per the lawsuit. In response to that incident, Meyer received a formal charge letter from Stanford's Office of Community Standards, informing her of impending disciplinary action, the lawsuit states. The letter was sent to her via email on the evening of her death and exactly 6 months after the spilled coffee incident, according to the lawsuit. We are deeply troubled and disappointed with what we have learned since her passing and have no choice but to move forward with litigation to achieve justice for Katie and protect future students, the Meyer family said in a statement. In a statement to CNN, Stanford University spokesperson Dee Mostofi refuted the lawsuit's claims. The Stanford community continues to grieve Katie's tragic death, and we sympathize with her family. Such administrative language, by the way, just classic. We grieve her death, and we sympathize with her family for the unimaginable pain that Katie's passing has caused them, Mustafi wrote. However, this is how you know, basically everything we just wrote, we don't believe in, because, however, we strongly disagree with any assertion that the university is responsible for her death. While we have not yet seen the formal complaint, which is on its way, because they usually send it by snail mail, or it can be served by a sheriff, seen the formal complaint brought by the Meyer family, we are aware of some of the allegations made in the filing, which are false and misleading, Mustafi added. The lawsuit says the letter had threatening language. According to the lawsuit, the letter contained threatening language regarding sanctions and potential removal from the university. The formal disciplinary charge letter related to spilled coffee also informed Katie her diploma was being placed on hold, only 3 months shy of graduation. I mean, think about it. Think about the level of stress that Katie has potentially experienced as a result of this letter. Receiving this letter has caused her to realize that, wait a minute, I may not even be able to graduate. I mean, that is an extremely, extremely high standard and very, very difficult sometimes to digest, especially for a girl that is barely 22 years old. Threatening her status as a Stanford student. Welcome, Edward Lockwood, to the channel. Thank you. Threatens her status as Stanford student, captain and member of the soccer team, residential advisor, Mayfield Fellow, defense innovative scholar, and her ability to attend Stanford Law School, amongst many other things. I mean, look at how many things this girl accomplished. Holy shit. She was a fellow, a scholar. She was going to go to law school. She was an advisor on the soccer team. I mean, she did every after-school activity that you can possibly imagine. No question about it. She was an absolutely invaluable addition to the university. And this is how they treated her? This is how they treated her. Retired Nana says, written by Michele Dauber, it probably was threatening. Viking Wolf says, wow, I have 5 classes left for the Mazers. I do not even know how I would feel. Exactly. Absolutely. I echo all of your statements. After receiving the letter, Meyer immediately responded to the email, telling the university that she was shocked and distraught. Now, this is very, very, very important. This is probably the most important piece of this entire lawsuit. Think about it. If the university had sent the letter and Katie ends up doing the exact same thing, unliving herself, but sends no response, we don't have a way to gauge the internal mental state of where Katie was after receiving that letter. We have no way to tell that those two are causally linked and related to one another. I mean, you can still make the argument. I'm not saying you can't make the argument at that point. You can always make the argument, no matter how weak or fragile it is. But making that connection is so much easier for like a judge or a jury, and potentially a lot more, shall we say, stronger to pass summary judgment in district court, in circuit court, because of the response that Katie sends. That already bolsters the argument, because we can't ask her. She's gone. It's a tragedy. The girl is no longer with us. We can't ask her, hey, can you tell us what you felt? But we have information that we can use based on the email that she has sent. Stanford employees failed to support Katie when she expressed feelings of despair. She was terrified an accident will destroy my future, and she had been scared for months that my clumsiness will ruin my chances of leaving Stanford on a good note, and experiencing much anxiety related to the OCS process, the lawsuit further states. According to Mustafi, the university spokesperson, the letter to Meyer also contained a number to call for immediate support, and was specifically told that this resource was available to her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, I call BS on this. Not that it wasn't included. That's not me calling BS. They probably have had similar situations in the past. I mean, Stanford is an extremely, at least historically, prestigious university. If I'm not mistaken, I believe I recently read that it is either number 2 or number 3 behind like Stanford and Yale. Harvard and Yale. And Harvard is like, has always maintained kind of like that number 1 position for the most part. And Yale and Stanford are kind of playing topsy-turvy, like who's number 2 this year, who's number 3, who's number 2, who's number 3. So they know what kind of power they have over students, especially when students choose not to cooperate for whatever reason. And they have power, just pure fear, power based on fear. So they know in every single letter, email that is threatening anything, disciplinary action, removal, expulsion, detention, whatever it may be, they know what it can lead to. So they have a catch-all at the bottom of the email. If you are experiencing feelings of anxiety and you don't know what to do with yourself, and you don't want, you feel like you are at the end of your rope, please call this number. It is a bogus standard boilerplate language. It's kind of like the terms of service at the end of the contract, right? Nobody reads those. They're just there because they have to put them in there. That's what my money is on. I don't think that this is very useful, but this is part of their argument, and they're rightfully making it because that's what they have. It is important to emphasize that we are committed to supporting students through the student judicial process under OCS, and we did so in this case. In particular, the university offered Katie an advisor to work with her throughout the process and told her she could have a support person of her choosing with her in any meeting or conversation with OCS. And again, it's like we are going to provide our own executioner for you. This is what it feels like. Oh, fantastic. It's like having a public defender. I know some of you like to call them public pretenders. I don't usually agree with that statement, but in this case, this advisor, the so-called advisor, is straight up a public university pretender, because they don't have Katie's interests truly at heart. They work for the university. They get paid by the university. I mean, come on. Can you have any more biased individual coming into the room with you like, I don't know. I don't like it at all. There's no right to due process. There's no right to cross-examine witnesses. The standard is not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just atrocious. Noting that Meyer had no prior history of mental illness, the lawsuit further details plans she had made in the days before her death, including purchasing plane tickets, planning a birthday party, and attending class and soccer practice as normal. Now, why is this important? This, again, shows Katie's state of mind. State of mind that this was not something that she has been battling for a while, like battling, some people battle depression and they don't want to do things and they just go to class and then they come back to the dorm and they curl up in their bed and they go to sleep for the next 7 hours just to wake up to go back to bed for another 8 hours. This goes to show that Katie's state of mind was, look, I have plans. I have a flight to catch. I have a birthday party to go to. I have a class. I have soccer practice. My calendar is lined up. Boom. Nuclear warhead explodes in her living room, in her dorm room. The letter from Stanford, and she says, I cannot take it. This is it. I have no chance. I have zero chance. My life is over. My life is ruined. Boom. So that's how they're bolstering their argument. Remember, circumstantial evidence is going to be crucial because showing state of mind of a deceased individual is very, very difficult. Okay. Now, the next article I want to cover with you all is very, very, very interesting. This was actually written by an individual that goes by the name of Claire Best on here, and they've actually messaged me. They've actually messaged me on Twitter in my DMs, and I just noticed that there is a subsequent message that arrived actually right before I started this live, so I haven't had a chance to read it yet. They basically stated that they've done extensive homework on this. They are in touch with some people that know where all this stuff is coming from, and will defend anything that is written in the article. Katie Meyer's unliving herself should be blamed on Michele Dauber, Stanford, and the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights under Catherine Lemon. Now, don't forget, take this article with a grain of salt, because this is the culmination of the research that she has done and the conclusions that she has reached based on the information that she has received and that she knows. Stanford University has been sued for the wrongful death of a student, which we just covered, that of soccer star Katie Meyer. Shortly after the suit was filed, Stanford law professor Michele Dauber, who has prided herself on ranting on social media, deleted her Twitter handle. Now, for some of you, that may be news. For some others, it may not be. For most of you, I imagine it is not news. But about on a Wednesday or Thursday, after this lawsuit was filed, I mean, the timing is literally on point. The day after the lawsuit was filed, Michele Dauber went to Twitter to state that she is going to be deleting her Twitter, quote unquote, soon. Now, when was this going to happen? We had absolutely no idea at the time. At the time. I believe I even retweeted it. Yes, there it is, November 24th. So I can show you all. I can show you all. Here we go. There it is. Let me see if I can make that bigger. Dauber just announced this was on November 24th. So that was Thursday. The day after, so remember, lawsuit is filed November 23rd. Dauber announces she's leaving Twitter on November 24th, the following day. So this was approximately 2:30 p.m. She said, announcement. I will be deleting Twitter soon because, like many people, I don't want to contribute to Musk's mistreatment, blah, blah. She gives like some bogus reason for her leaving. Obviously, she has to. It has nothing to do because of some harassment that she received from Depp grifters and blah, blah, blah. Well, we now know the real reason. It's more than likely because of this lawsuit. And of course, literally, like in between, I only have like one tweet because the next day on Saturday, November 20, or excuse me, Friday, November 25th, it's gone. Her Twitter account was deleted. She's gone. I agree, Vanessa. The timing is extremely sus. So again, just for those of you who are just catching up, the timeline, Wednesday, lawsuit filed. Thursday, Dauber says she's leaving. Friday, she leaves. Saturday, people partied. You know, whatever. Very suspect. Very suspect. So she has deleted her Twitter handle since. Screenshots of Dauber's vile tweets over the years demonstrate the abhorrent standards of Stanford's when it comes to Michele Dauber's tweets that could easily lead any student to unlive themselves. The actions that led to the death of Katie Meyer began and ended with Stanford University, the lawsuit alleges, and makes public for the first time the details of the allegations that sparked the potential disciplinary action. And this is the article that we just read. Stanford, other universities, colleges, and schools in the US have been using disciplinary procedures provided directly or indirectly from the US Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights under Catherine Lemon or Russelin Ali, who signed the 2011 unregulated Dear Colleague Title IX directive. That letter was drafted by Michele Dauber, who has regularly used social media to bully, smear students, professors, and others, including Johnny Depp and his attorney, Camille Vasquez. Free Flyer 1978 says, Dauber must not realize Wayback Machine exists. No subpoena is needed to get her tweets. And I imagine you're referring to something that, software that allows you to get back tweets from a deleted account. Because just because you deleted your account doesn't mean your tweets vanish. I mean, that's literally Internet 101. But at the end of the day, I think Michele Dauber is doing one of two things. Unless she's really that stupid, thinking that if I delete my account, my tweets are all gone. I imagine she's probably doing it for another reason, and that is I don't want to get into subsequent trouble because I can't stop myself from tweeting vile shit. So unless I delete my account right now, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm just going to keep doing it, and I don't want to get into further trouble, more so than I already am. And by the way, there's been so many screenshots of her tweets, so a lot of them are preserved. And if you all have not seen the video that I made about Twitter versus Dauber, it is also on my channel. I did that a few days ago, I think Monday or Tuesday last week, or this past week. And a lot of the tweets that she has done are preserved in that video forever. Like you can't, unless I delete the video, though you can see some of the tweets. And the reason I made that video is to show why she is the way that she is. So go check it out if you haven't already. All right. And this is the article when Stanford professor's tweets mocking Camille Vasquez angers Johnny Depp fans. If you all remember this is the photo from the verdict day, June 1st, when they were announcing their victory and how happy they are for Johnny Depp. And this was done by Newsweek. Michele Dauber was chair of Stanford's judicial affairs from 2011, the year the unregulated Title IX Dear Colleague letter was introduced, to 2013. She stated in 2017 or 2018 that the issue of sexual assault brought women out to vote in droves. In other words, instead of setting out to help tackle campus sexual assault, she was using it as a political tool. Sound familiar? Using something as a political tool to achieve your own agenda. I'm looking at you, AH. Very similar, these two women. Using it as a political tool, and the students on campus became her weapons. Dauber's friend, Catherine Lemon, why am I not surprised that they're friends, running U.S. education OCR from 2013 to 2017 and 2021 to the present day, stated that the department's focus on star athletes brought attention to campus sexual assault. She threatened to withhold federal funds from any campus that didn't follow the looking glass-esque procedures for discipline using a single investigator model to be the jury, the judge, and the executioner. Oh my God, if that does not strike a chord with you, I don't know what will. Because you are basically taking one person who is being accused of a very, very heinous crime. A crime, make no mistake. This is not just a violation of the terms of the student handbook. It's a crime, and a very serious crime that in most states carries as much as 20 to 50 years in prison. But they are isolating that. They're changing the narrative. They're changing the procedure. They're taking control. And one person that is, again, getting paid by the university is now getting to decide, does this student sink or swim? Absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I agree, Dina. This is horrific. And it's been going on for years without any check or balance. The Dear Colleague Title IX letter, DCL, the Dear Colleague letter, spawned a profitable business. Well, look at that. This is kind of like what Amy and I were talking about yesterday. You remember? Anytime that you're trying to do some good, potentially, but instead you monetize that good and you realize, wait a minute, I can make a lot of money if I use it as a weapon rather than using it as a shield. Instead of doing good, I can really start making some serious dough on this. Profitable business, eh? For several, including Brett Sokolow, who built an empire on the back of the 2011 federal directive. He was recently sued by a whistleblower for financial misconduct while raking in millions for advising universities, colleges, and schools on how to conduct investigations and manage risk. I mean, he literally just built a business. He's like, you know what? I can make money doing it. Who cares about the repercussions for students and other students alike, victims and suspects alike? I can make money doing it. And there's the link to that. I'm going to include the link to this article, by the way, in the description below. So if you want to read it yourself and click on a lot of these links, you are more than welcome to. It's going to be in the description below at some point in the future. Free Flyer 1978 says that Dauber fits the saying, those who can't practice law, teach it. She has her own little judicial fiefdom on campus. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Oh, is Amy in the chat? Hi, Amy. Amy Goodhart is in the chat. Say hello to Amy. She was on my channel yesterday. We did a really fun piece on feminism. Stanford has stood by and said nothing about the effects of an ideology that has wreaked havoc on students and their welfare. Students across the country have paid thousands for bloated and biased Title IX administrators while having their own rights severely restricted. I mean, this is literally what we just talked about. This is literally what we just talked about. Rights they would have enjoyed anywhere other than on campus, subject to the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights Doctrines. The right to due process. Due process of law, which every criminal defendant is given, but because under Title IX, it is not a criminal proceeding, but it is a internal student administrative proceeding, you are not entitled to the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. You're not entitled to representation of counsel, and you're not entitled to due process of law. Disgusting, absolutely disgusting and terrifying. Students are the exception now to the Constitution. Get out of here. Stanford didn't even say anything when Michele Dauber used social media to call for extreme violence against Brock Turner, the Stanford freshman Olympic swim team hopeful who was framed as a rapist by Dauber. Turner's chances of due process were denied from the start. Even his defense attorney, Mike Armstrong, had taught in Dauber's class and given counsel to her family. Armstrong never told his own client of this conflict of interest. I mean, think about that. He's teaching in her class, and he's also representing the student that is accused. I mean, my God. My God. Don't be a creep. I love you, Amy. You're so funny. The writing was on the wall for Katie Meyer. No way out. A disciplinary process that assumes guilt from the start, and Michele Dauber, Catherine Lemon, Russelin Ali, and White House Not Alone Task Force affiliates are to blame. Whatever the truth might be, it hasn't mattered because Stanford, like other campuses, simply followed the rules put in place by a cruel and activist-driven Department of Education Office of Uncivil Rights. Beautifully written. Stanford knew the details on Brock Turner promulgated to the media by its own tenured professor didn't match the actual records, so they're lying. Surprise. But they yielded to Dauber's propaganda, silent as she worked behind the scenes, colluding with the district attorney of Santa Clara County to turn a 19-year-old new student into the face of a rapist for politics. And by the way, I haven't had a chance to fully dig into this, and I probably personally won't because it is an extreme undertaking. But somebody has linked a lawsuit or a part of a lawsuit against either Michele Dauber or Stanford University, alleging that Michele Dauber has colluded with the district attorney unlawfully behind the scenes, and they basically cherry-picked what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. It's actually on my Twitter page. One of the recent posts has a bunch of responses with the link, so you're free to go check that out. I think it was the one I posted earlier today, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, yeah, it was actually it was the Twitter post promoting this live. It was the Twitter post promoting this live. So go check it out. It's got the same thumbnail as this one. So lots and lots of dirt underground under this. Not surprising. Again, not surprising. Dauber does not play fair, as we already know. Dauber does not play by the rules, as we already know. She does not care who she throws under the bus, when or where, as long as it furthers her political agenda in achieving her means, even if it means throwing other lawyers under the bus, missing, sorry, I read the chat. Throwing other lawyers under the bus, throwing students under the bus, throwing faculty under the bus, throwing other professors under the bus, throwing other people under the bus, throwing Johnny under the bus. It doesn't matter to her as long as she gets her political agenda done. Dauber is lauded on the Silicon Valley Democratic Committee site. It has even been suggested that she should head the California Democratic Party. Student welfare at Stanford and at other campuses has become tertiary to institutional risk management, politics, and fundraising for politics under fake social justice causes. Anyone who stands up to support another student in the US is bullied, ostracized, mocked, smeared, and denied education. Students have been hospitalized after being bullied for speaking up in support of other students, accusers, or the accused. And the risk of speaking up is not worth it. Alongside Katie Meyer, the likelihood is that there are two other students whose rights have also been violated. That of the football player upon whom she allegedly spilled coffee for an alleged sexual assault, and that of the minor, the alleged victim of the sexual assault. And preponderance of the evidence. Remember the standard that I talked about that is reserved for civil cases, not criminal? And this is basically an internal criminal case with a lowered standard of proof. Preponderance of the evidence will, of course, find Stanford guilt-free. This is the standard in this lawsuit. So they're already predicting the future, saying Stanford is probably going to win this case, unless I'm missing something. I don't know. I don't know if they're really going to walk away guilt-free. I don't know if I fully agree with this statement at this juncture. I need to see the complaint. I need to read the complaint. I want to see how strong the narrative is and how much of a chance does Katie and her family have. You'd think AH was her kid. They're exactly the same. Evil, says Beautifully Damaged. An independent investigation by a law firm specializing in risk management will likely be brought in because Stanford has a lot of money, no question about it, and will help minimize any fallout. Reputations will be protected. Students will be disposable. Stanford denies all responsibility, even though Stanford created and endorsed the campus environment in which these events took place. The unliving herself, the coffee spill incident, and the alleged rape. Julio says Andrew Huberman needs to get her brain in his lab. Crazy to think they both come from the same university. Tenure is dangerous, in my opinion. There have been other unliving themselves incidents at Stanford, so this is not a first. There have been calls for administrators to step down. There have been calls for Michele Dauber to be fired. All of them stonewalled. If you remember the petition on change.org, it's linked here in the article. The rising number of student unliving themselves across the nation is alarming, but the Department of Education, administrators, Etixia, and others fail to admit to their own central role in it all. Do unto others as you would have done unto you is absent in the doctrine coming from the Department of Education, the White House Not Alone Task Force, or their associates. Katie Meyer is not the first, and she will certainly not be the last, unless the Department of Education's Offices of Civil Rights, the White House 2014 Not Alone Task Force, and the creators of the 2011 Unregulated Directive are held accountable for hostile environments on campus and the denial of civil rights. Senators Lamar Alexander and James Lankford warned us about the Department of Education's overreach in 2016. Katie Meyer is a consequence of the department's failure to listen and to act. Catherine Lemon has been nothing but arrogant and condescending to anyone who questions her. Julie Gibson says it is absolutely terrifying that she has been able to make these unilateral decisions. It is asinine and alarming. I fully agree. Katie Meyer's death was entirely preventable. Common sense would have dictated a different approach, a conversation instead of a heartless email. Are you listening, Dauber? I know it's going to fall on deaf ears, but your heartlessness may have potentially caused this. A court will decide. But common sense is missing because common sense doesn't need to provide for-profit contracts for Title IX. In 2 to 4 days training, that's it? Holy crap. Just 2 to 4 days training and you're a Title IX coordinator. In 2 to 4 days training, a Title IX coordinator can get certified by Brett Sokolow's organization and earn over $100,000 to single-handedly determine the fate of a student. 3 days training. Oh my God. Wow. I mean, I already knew it was bad, but I had no idea that it was literally 72 hours worth of, not even, it's what, 8 plus 8 plus 8, let's call it, about 24 hours worth of training. And you can determine the fate of students. Yeah, no wonder this was a cash cow. Because if you have to spend 6 months, let's say, if you have to spend like 6 months in training or even like 3 weeks in training, it's not a cash cow because now you're spending all this time. But if you're bouncing from university to university, boom, 1 week you're here, 1 week you're there, you can cover half the universities in the United States in a matter of like 3 years, maybe even faster. You're making money hand over fist. Holy mother of God. That is way too much power. Unapologetically CC. Yeah, it is way too much power to give to one individual. Judge, jury, and executioner, remember? Katie Meyer's school fees would have included several $1,000s to cover such administrators. But what was their goal other than to traumatize students and conduct biased investigations? Should anyone pay thousands for these administrators to ruin their lives? Stanford's and other universities, colleges, and schools administrators have been utterly cowardly at protecting students' interests against an invasive and dangerous group of activists tied to Michele Dauber, Catherine Lemon, U.S. education, and the White House Not Alone Task Force. These have been fast to back propaganda, such as Rolling Stone's A Rape on Campus fake story or the Hunting Ground documentary, and silent when it comes to the very real and tragic consequences of the one-sided ideology put forward by these tales. It's not just one life that is harmed in Title IX investigations, it is multiple lives. All the people directly involved and the bystanders. The ones who live with the guilt of having seen wrongdoing by administrators, the ones who are not allowed to reach out to their friends who have been accused because of the disciplinary process. And here are some more links. No life should be lost on any accusation. No life should be threatened for standing up to be counted. These are students, not adults. Well, by the legal definition, they're adults, but I think I understand what the writer is trying to say. They're not fully immersed in the world yet. They're not familiar with the real world. They're still learning. They're students. They're post-high school. I think that's the meaning behind this statement. They don't have decades of life experience. Exactly. Why should they be social experiments or labor traffic for political activists wanting to get ahead in Washington, D.C.? The Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights and Not Alone Task Force gave specific instructions to administrators, police departments, and investigators not to alert students that they were being investigated, but to blind cite them just for effect. We saw it in New Hampshire, where the Dear Colleague letter was introduced. Concord Police, according to trial records, instructed St. Paul's School not to alert its student, Owen Labrie, that he was being investigated, and told the school not to contact him. He was framed for the purposes of the White House Not Alone Task Force's mission to tackle rape culture, and Laura L. Dunn, who worked with Michele Dauber on the Dear Colleague letter, instructed New Hampshire's police on how to lead investigations. Holy Mother of God. I mean, they've literally injected themselves into the police process. If that's true, I mean, I understand that they were in touch with, yeah, UNH works to improve law enforcement response. And who are they? Who the hell are they to educate police who, by the way, receive their own courses on how to conduct investigations? And now this organization is injecting itself into the police investigatory process? It is absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Labrie, a scholarship student, was not warned that he would be charged with anything, let alone an assortment of 10 felonies and misdemeanors for a he said, she said encounter with no witnesses, which, per the trial records, only involved romantic exchanges and giggling. The police asked the school to contact his mother only after they got wind of his unliving himself thoughts following their tainted investigation. They took no responsibility for what they'd done either to him or the other students they'd lied to, stalked, bullied, or force-fed tales. Who to thank for their methods? Laura L. Dunn, a Title IX expert and advisor to the White House Not Alone Task Force, an expert who'd worked with Stanford's law professor Michele Dauber, quote-unquote expert. Money, contracts, politics, and cover-ups have been the name of the game for the White House Not Alone Task Force and its affiliates, including Michele Dauber and Laura Dunn. Their viewpoints are supported by the ACLU, Know Your Nine, Serve Justice, NSVRC, NCVLI, PAVE, It's On Us, NWLC, and others. These are all organizations that are part of that. Katie Meyer's untimely death is the consequence of harmful and soulless directives from U.S. Education, OCR, and Stanford's own law professor, Michele Dauber. Claire Best, somebody was asking who wrote it. The author of this research article is Claire Best. The link is in the description below. If you refresh the page, I added it in the middle of the stream. So if you haven't had a chance to, if you want to read it at some point, you're more than welcome to. So yeah, that's where we're at. It's depressing. It's sad that it had to happen this way. We don't know the extent of the coffee splashing incident. We don't know the extent of any injuries he may or may not have sustained. I imagine this is just pure speculation, but it is an educated guess. Normally, when injuries are sustained, that is usually like the first part of the headline. If no injuries are mentioned, that means no injuries have occurred, usually, okay? Like in a car accident case, if there are injuries, that's the first thing people talk about. It was an injury accident. people were injured or killed, God forbid, in the crash. You know, that's usually the first thing people go to. So for the fact that nothing was mentioned about any injuries by this coffee, it was either cold coffee or iced coffee or previously hot coffee that has now gone cold. That's my guess. That's my guess. Like I said, I've not read the complaint yet. I've not had a chance to review it. Hopefully I'll get my hands on it. There was just no opportunity for the courts to be open yet, since it was filed literally Thanksgiving Eve. Julie Gibson says, it's insidious. This is something you'd see in a thriller movie, and you try to think out a whodunit before the credits roll. What a poor girl. That's actually an interesting idea. I don't know if she will agree, but we can always ask. I can always ask her if the author of the article that we just read, the second one, not the CNN one, if she would be willing to come on as a guest on my channel. I think that would be really fun. She messaged me, like I said, I have a very, very long DM from her that I don't want to read now while I'm streaming. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting few days. Definitely something to consider. So tomorrow, we are going over Amber Heard's brief. Fingers crossed. We got to get our hands on it. Then on Tuesday, we have Fair and Balanced on the channel. If you don't know Farron, absolutely, this is a show you do not want to miss. She's on strict, no talking about drama guidelines. I don't care about what happened between her and the other people. I told her no drama talk. This is pure fun, high energy. She's moving to DC. She got an amazing, great, phenomenal position. That's why she moved there. I want to talk about that. That's what I'm interested in. That's what you all are interested in. We want to get the coffee or the tea. We're going to wait for her to spill the tea to let us know. So that's Tuesday. And then if I'm able to, I'm going to try and get my hands on the complaint for the lawsuit against Stanford, and we're probably going to go over the complaint. I mean, I love reading legal documents. I'm a nerd, okay? I think you guys all know by now. I literally nerd out on this stuff. You've seen my reactions. These are all genuine. I try not to read them beforehand so that when I read it with you all together at the same time, I can see, like, you can see my brain and my gears turning. I think it's way more entertaining for everybody. You get to learn, I get to learn, we all get to have fun and enjoy it. I mean, obviously that complaint is not going to be all that entertaining. It is going to be fairly depressing. I'm warning you right now, but I still think it is going to be absolutely worth your time and my time to go over it, because we are going to get a much better idea as to how Michele Dauber is involved in this, if at all. Very, very slim if. I'm pretty sure she is directly involved. And we're going to get a chance to dissect it and, of course, see how much strength it has. Thank you, Bobby Cat. Really appreciate that. So, yeah, if we get our hands on the complaint, I'll do that on Wednesday, and then we'll just go from there. So that's going to be the first part of our week. AH's brief, straight up, tomorrow, LFG, boys and girls, LFG, tomorrow. Tomorrow is the whole kit and caboodle. Tomorrow, it's all in. It is going to be a madhouse if everything goes according to plan. And number two, Tuesday, Fair and Balanced. And number three, if everything goes according to plan, once again, I will get a copy of the complaint in the Stanford case, Katie Myers estate versus Stanford. We'll go over that on Wednesday. And yeah, send me, by the way, send me, well, actually, I'm afraid to say it out loud, because if I say it, then I'm going to start getting all sorts of requests. So I'm not going to say it. I'm actually not going to say it. I'm going to table that. Cut it out. Don't send me anything. Am I doing both briefs? Both briefs. Which briefs? Are you referring to which briefs? I honestly have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I already did Johnny's. It's on my channel. And I did both of the amicus briefs last week. And I'm doing Amber's tomorrow. The two amicus are already on my channel. The two that were filed, yes, I already did. See, tell me you haven't followed my channel for the last 5 days without telling me you haven't followed my channel for the last 5 days. You just called yourself out. Hey, you did this. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. Yeah, you're behind the times. See, you're all good. You're all good. I'm honestly, I'm not faulting you. The Amica Cream briefs, exactly. Both of the Amica Cream briefs have been filed. They are such fucking trash, you guys. They are such garbage. It is insanity how much they're devoid of legal art. If you have not seen my rants about them as I read them, oh my God, go check it out. Oh my God, it will literally make your brain melt as to how stupid they are, as to how devoid of information, devoid of legal argument, devoid of everything that you would expect in an appellate brief. An appellate brief, I think it was another law tuber who said it perfectly. It is not an amicus. The definition of an amicus brief is a friend of the court brief. These two amici briefs are literally friends of Amber. Straight up. I think it was Andrea. Andrea said that. She either said it or put it in the thumbnail or tweeted about it. I don't remember. It's like, oh my God, my brain was melting. I needed a break. I didn't even stream on Friday because it took me about 6 hours, 3 hours each to break it down. And if you need a break, please give yourself one. Do not try to like watch the video in one sitting, because your brain will melt like mine did. I actually needed a break that Friday because I was like, sure, I could stream, but it's not going to be pleasant because I was like exhausted. My brain was still not fully recovered until Saturday. So yeah, so that that is on my channel as well. Lots more shows coming. We're gonna keep the train going on the daily shows. I'm having a lot of fun with this so far. I'm having a lot of energy. So we'll see if I'm able to maintain. Like I said, I started running again. That's why my face was so red at the beginning of the stream. I need to find a way to keep my energy up. Otherwise, I'm just gonna burn out on my, because I have a law firm to run, I have employees to maintain, I have clients to obtain, and now I also have this on my plate. This is a full-time job. This is a full-time job. As you all know, I don't do video editing. I don't upload little clips where you know, cut stuff and then you slap things on. A lot of law tubers and YouTubers do that kind of stuff. I just don't have the time. I mean, I have the means to hire a production agency. I just don't know anyone. I don't know anyone. Retired Nana says, Andrea Burkhardt agrees with you. She said it was trash. So actually, this is my opportunity. You know what? This is my opportunity. This is my opportunity. If you know someone who has a production company like that do like video editing, I'm interested, and I will pay. Obviously, you know, I'm not asking you to do it for free by any means. I will pay, because I think, and I'm trying to maybe even bring my TikTok back. I don't know. I haven't decided on that part yet. I may bring my TikTok back. I don't have anybody to make TikToks for me anymore, to like watch the videos and like cut material out. So if you're interested, if you know someone who's good at like making little videos, like little TikTok videos out of actual content, that would be lovely. I need someone, because my guy, he moved on. He's God bless him. Honestly, he's worked for me for like a year, and he makes too much money to continue working for me doing the little TikToks. So editing video and making TikToks are two things on my list that I definitely need to look into. I'm still working on the background. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you don't know this, but I've been trying to figure out what to put behind me. I want something mobile that I can like travel with. So when I go to another city, it still looks like my studio, which would be like phenomenal, because consistency is absolutely key when you're making YouTube videos. And I definitely want to do that. So don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, by the way. If you don't have a join button, Vanessa, if you're on an iPhone, you need to log on a computer. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to join. The iPhones don't have a join button capability. Thank you very much, Harper's One Nighter. Josh Cantu has a YouTube channel. He is very good. Okay, I'll go check him out. It's a lot easier said than done. It's a lot easier said than done because, again, I only have so much energy and time on my hands. And, this has been kind of like a long weekend, more or less. We had like a half day. I gave my employees a half day on Friday. So we're back to business as usual, at least until Christmas. So we gotta keep both trains running as much as we can. So I'm gonna keep doing live shows, for better or for worse. I hope the sound is better. I'm still working on perfecting that. I'm also going to be getting I'm using a very, very good camera right now, but I need a better one. I like this quality, but I think it can be better too. So yeah, once again, don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I love every single one of you. Thank you for joining me on this lovely, quiet, cold, here in Kentucky at least, Sunday night. I will see you all tomorrow as early as I am able, as early as I can get my hands on the AH brief. I do have a few things I must take care of, so it will not be sooner than like maybe 2-3 p.m. In the afternoon, maybe even 1 p.m. Eastern time. But we're going to get the AH brief done, because that is I can't wait. I honestly can't wait to read it. It's going to be such a shit show. I'm already predicting it, since the amici have been working with Amber and on working on their amicus briefs. So like it's gonna be the same echoes. Welcome to the channel on Unapologetically CC. It's gonna be the same shit. Like I don't anticipate anything drastically different. So I absolutely cannot wait. So thank you all for joining me. I love every single one of you, and I will see you all tomorrow in the next video. Bye, everybody.